system and brings all advantages to the of costing to the business. So some of the features is suitability to the business. When you are designing a costing system, you must look at its relevance to the business. How does it fit in the business, and how does it match the business, the business's way of operations? So the suitability feature must be incorporated in your mind when you're developing the system. Then simplicity, when it comes to operating the system, it should be easy to operate and should be understood even by a person having an average intelligence. So a lay person should be able to understand the system. Then flexibility, your costing system should be adjustable according to the management's needs. It must be adjusted according to the requirements and the needs of management for efficient management of business costs. Then when it comes to another feature, economical, when you are designing a costing system, because you know that since the objectives of the firm is to maximize profits, we must look at how much do we incur to generate that system or to operate that system, because it must be as low as possible. The cost of operating and developing that system must be as low as possible for the firm to be able to maximize its profits. Because when the costs of operating this system is high, then just know that the cost of producing your commodities will also be high, and this will force you to hike or to increase the prices of your commodities. And at the end of the day, customers or consumers will prefer to go for other goods of other competitors or other substitute goods, given that yours will be so expensive for them to consume. Then comparability, as we said, that you must look at the capacity of your system to hold information that enables you to compare your performance levels in different periods against another period. In the previous period, maybe against the current period, or compare your level of performance in terms of cost management with costs of other firms in the same industry, for purposes of evaluating your position in the industry in terms of cost management. So costs can be classified in different ways. So cost classification is basically, it's all about grouping of costs according to their common characteristics. So a suitable classification of costs is of vital importance in order to identify the cost with cost centers, or cost units. So we have major ways of classifying costs, and we shall look at them one by one. So the first basis of classifying costs is based on on their behavior. So when we talk about behavior basis, this is where we have costs that change with the level of output, and costs that do not change with the level of output. For example, fixed costs. When we talk about fixed costs, these are costs that do not change irrespective of the level of production. If you produce more, the cost will remain the same. If you produce less, the cost will remain the same. For example, the cost of rent may not change regardless of how much you produce. Whether you don't produce or you produce, you have to incur the same cost of rent. And then besides fixed costs, we may have also step fixed costs. So now there's some difference with our step fixed costs. When it comes to step fixed costs, with them, they can be constant to a specific level or to a certain level of output. Let's say if you produce from 0 to 5,000 units, the cost may be constant. But when you go beyond 5,000 units, it may increase to a certain level and again be maintained to a certain level of production in that kind of arrangement. So there are intervals within which it can be constant, and when that interval is matched out, it can increase as well. Then we have variable cost. Now these do change with the level of what? Output. The more we produce, the more variable costs we incur, because it is basically a cost per unit of output. The more quantity, the more costs. The less quantity, the lower costs, and so on. So we have different methods that can be employed in splitting variable costs from fixed costs. How can we split variable costs from fixed costs? Now, variable costs can be separated from fixed costs using three methods. One, the high-low method, then other range method. Then you can also use the least squares method. That is another statistical method that you can use to separate fixed costs from variable costs. Then you can use the scatter diagram to separate fixed costs from variable costs, and this involves drawing of graphs or using of graphs to separate these costs. Then now we are going to look at the high-low method, the high-low method or the range method. So when using this method, the two extreme levels of activity and costs are considered. For example, the highest cost and the lowest cost, as well as the highest activity level against the lowest activity level. So we consider the extreme activity levels and then costs when determining the variable cost per unit. So that is a high. So the changes, for example, the changes in costs between levels are divided by the changes in activity levels, and the resulting figure is the unit variable cost. So let's go ahead to explore into this. So we can continue. So we are saying we are looking at an example where we are observing our highest cost of 10,000 and then the least cost of 7,000. So the highest activity level is 500 and the least lowest is 200. Now we get to the working and we see how we can find the unit variable cost. So as we've said, the unit variable cost will be given as change in cost, that is the highest cost of 10,000 minus the lowest cost of 7,000 over the change in activity levels, that is the highest activity level of 500 units minus the lowest activity level of 200 units. So this would result in 10,000 minus 7,000 is 3,000. Then 500 minus 200, that is 300 units. 300 units. So 300 units. So 3,000 divided by 300, we get 10 shillings. Let's calculate and confirm for us to see how it comes about. So 3,000 divided by 300, we get 10 shillings. So meaning the unit variable cost is 10 shillings. Unit variable cost is 10 shillings, and this is the answer for part 1. This is the answer for part 1. So now we can go on to part 2. So part 2 says the fixed costs. Part 2 says the fixed costs. So how do we determine the fixed costs? So as we say, the fixed costs are those costs that do not change regardless of the level of activity or the level of output. Now for us to find the fixed cost, we shall use the total cost function, whereby total cost equals to fixed costs plus variable cost. So that is the formula we use for determining the fixed costs of production. Now, for us to determine the fixed cost, we choose any activity level, any. So for example, you can choose 200, you can choose 300, you can choose 400 or 500. Any you choose, you choose any with its corresponding total cost. For example, you can decide to choose 300 units against the cost of 8,000. If you decide to choose that, so you can taking 300 units and total cost of 8,000 shillings. So when we choose that is what we've chosen, as we can, the one we highlighted in green. We've decided to go with 300 and 8,000, but we've said you can choose any. For example, you can choose 200 and 7,000, you can choose 400 and 9,000. Whichever I choose will give you or will take you to the same total fixed costs of the production process. Let's get back to our computation. So given that we've chosen 8,000 against 300 units, so our total cost, will get back to the formula. Total cost will be 8,000 equaling to fixed costs, which we are looking for, which we don't know. Fixed costs plus variable costs. Now the variable cost is 10 shillings per unit, but then we are producing 300 units, so 10 times 300. So as we've said, the 10 is per unit. Now if you produce 300 units, then how much will be the total variable cost? So here we go, 8,000 equals to fixed costs plus 3,000. Then of course we are going to make the fixed cost the subject, because it is what we are interested in. So meaning we shall make the 3,000 cross to the other side, and when it crosses it gets a negative sign. So that will be 8,000 minus 3,000 equals to fixed costs. Therefore, it means our fixed costs is 5,000 shillings. Our fixed cost is 5,000 shillings. So that is our fixed costs, total fixed costs in the production process. Then now we can get to number 3. Can get to the part 3. So when you look at part 3 says we'll estimate the total cost when output is 450. I'll estimate the total cost when output is 450 units. So here we go. So from our total cost function, which is given as fixed cost plus variable. So meaning our total fixed cost will be 5,000. Our total cost will be 5,000, which is the fixed cost already known to us, plus now the variable costs, which is 450 units times the unit variable cost of 10 shillings. Because the unit variable cost is 10 shillings, meaning we shall have 5,000 shillings plus 4,500 shillings. That is 450